Hi, my name is David. This is my NEA documentation testing video. This is gonna be my second video out of the two. First one being about the demo, and this is gonna be about testing. So if I look in the login and registration testing table, first test is registering an account. So if I try looking in account list, which is my endpoint with all the registered values, I try test 1 and test 1 and register. It will save it to account list with the user ID, username as test and password as hashed, and it will redirect me to the login page. So if this is the criteria here, so it is a pass. Test 2 is registering an account with an already registered username. So if I try register with test 1 and test 1, it will not let me in. Yeah. And if I try test 1 and any other password, it won't let me in because it needs to be a unique username. If I try test 2 and I use the password as test 2, it will let me in the login. So this is a pass. 1.3 is to log into the game. So if I go to the login and I put test 1 and test 1, it will let me log into the game. If I log out, I try with test 2, it will let me log in. So this is a pass. So try the login with unregistered values, it should output an error message. So if I try test 1 and then I put a random password, it won't let me in. If I try test 3 and the password of test 3, it won't let me in. But if I try test 2, which is already an existing password and username, it will let me in. So this is a pass. 1.5 says that to test, the user is logged in. So you see your username at the top of the page. So when you log in, it shows your username right here. I logged in with a test 2 account, so it shows me test 2. If I log out and I go back with, if I try test 1, which is also a username and password, and I log in, and I start the game, it shows me test 1. So that works. The 1.6 says test logout, so I shouldn't be able to access the game / movement unless I'm logged in. So when I create, whenever I log in, it creates a session, and the session is destroyed when you log out. So as you can see, I am in /movement. I'm like always in /movement. /movement takes me to the game. If I try movement, it takes me to the game. If I go back to accounts and I go back to /movement, it will let me back because I'm still in the session. However, if I log out and I try go back to /movement, it will take me back to login. So it just won't let you go into the game unless you're logged in and have a session. So if I log back in, it let me here. So this is also a pass. The player tests. So start off with the player movement. So if I go and start, it should show the player, and the player can move in all directions, diagonally right, diagonally down, diagonally right, diagonally up. So it can move in all directions. It can also sprint in the directions and move faster. So this is a pass. Tests that the player can attack. When you press space, as you can see here, press space to attack. You can press space and it will do this little area attack that you can use to attack. So that is also a pass. So test the player, can't leave the border. So if you try to leave the border, just won't let you leave. Even wherever you go, it just won't let you leave the area. So you're kind of just locked in here. So that's also a pass. So test that different animations take place at different actions. So when I'm standing still, I go through this idle animation. I go through this idle animation. And when I move, I go through this walk animation. When I attack, I go through this attack animation where he raises his arm and does a little attack. And when he sprints, he kind of has a sped up walking animation to show that he's sprinting. So that's the animation taking place. The animation should pause when the game is paused. So when the game is paused, the animation should pause. So if I go in a place where it won't bother us, and I pause here, it doesn't pause the animation that has taken place. So that is a fail. And then the stamina run out. The player should not regenerate stamina for 1 second if they run out of stamina. So the stamina is a green bar at the top, on top of the box. You can see when I press shift, I move faster, but it goes down. And when it goes all the way down, it doesn't reload, doesn't recharge for 1 second, so that um, the player can have a fatigue system, so he can't run, and he can't run until the stamina recharges above half its half of its max stamina value. So I can't sprint until it reaches at least half. So that is a pass. Player health. So test that the player has health and can take damage as well as die. So here I will add the enemies back. So I will uncomment this out and save, and then oh sorry, yep, and I refresh and I log in. So test 1, test 1. Should see enemies coming at you. So I'll test that the player can take damage. So the little green bar above the player is their health. So you can see when the player takes damage, it decreases by a quarter until the player eventually dies. So that is a pass. The game will pause. So if I press P, everything will pause, nothing will move, everything's stationary. If I even sprint, the sprint will stay stationary. Every aspect of the game is stationary. Pass. The only issue is that this player sprite is still animating, but that's the only issue. To test the game restart, so whenever the user wants to, as it says here, press R to restart, you can just restart the game. So if I press R, it just restarts and everything is back to normal. If I take a bit of damage, it will restart back to its original form. And another chaser will spawn randomly and come at you. So that's a pass. And test 3 is to show that the player has immunity frames. So when the player takes damage, in order to avoid a constant collision between the player and the chaser, it will have a couple immunity frames so that the player health doesn't instantly get wiped. So to show that, I have a little flashing effect. Let me restart. A little flashing effect to show the player is immune, and then when it stops, the player can be hit again. But while he's immune, he can't take any damage and just walk through the chasers. So that is a pass. Alright, now we're going to test the enemy. So test 3.1 says enemy chasing. Enemy should always go towards the player. So wherever the player goes, the enemy just follows it. Just always follows it. So it just always goes towards the player, never kind of goes off track really. So that is a pass. Chaser should be taking damage from the player's attack. So if I attack the enemy, then should take damage. So yeah, and it eventually dies if it takes too much damage. But the health, you can see, just cuts and you can kill it. So that's a pass. Chaser immunity. So when the chaser is attacked, it has a little immunity effect. So like the player, so it doesn't get spammed. So if I spam my attack, it won't kill the chaser instantly because it has a little immunity. So my second attack won't kill the player because it has a low immunity. So that is a pass. The chaser dies is already tested, so that's a pass. Test chaser speed and size. So the larger chasers move faster, and the slower chasers and the smaller chasers move a lot quicker. So as you can see here, this little small one moves a lot faster than these other ones, and then this big one moves a lot slower than the other ones. So that's a pass. Chaser immunity indicates when the chaser flashes when immune. So that hasn't been implemented yet, even though it was a test I wanted to make. I haven't been around to doing it, so that is fail. Because it does have immunity, but it doesn't have an indicator to show it's immune. So it's a fail. And now about the score. So the score should update when the enemy dies. So it should be going up by increments of 5. So if I kill this enemy here, if I restart actually, see my score on the top right is 0. If I kill an enemy, it will increase by 5. And then when the score is greater than the high score, then the high score shouldn't update to the high score should update to the current score. So if I go here and I try to get a high score, if I try to get a score larger than my high score, it will end up having my current score as the high score. So if I show you quick, yeah, as you can see, I got 60 and it updated it to 60, and if I go to 65, it makes it to 65. So it updates the high score when I get a score larger than the current high score. So that is pass. Now to the account. So an account should store the high score, and when the player logs in and logs out, it should still keep the same high score. So I have the high score of 70 on this account. This is test 1 account. If I log out and I go to test 2, when the account is made, it is given an initial high score of 0. So it has a high score of 0. And if I get a score of 5, it keeps my high score as 5. And if I log out and I go test 1 again, and I go log in, it will show my high score as 55. It should have been 70, but I instantly logged out instead of restarting. So when you restart and die, that's when the high score is updated. So yeah, if I show that quick for test 2, if I get a high score greater than 5 and I instantly log out, it will just save 5 as a score. But so you need to die or you need to restart for it to save your high score. So if I get 10 and then I die, unfortunately, it'll show the death screen, and if I go back and I come back, it'll show 10. If I log out and log back in, it should show 10. Yeah. Alright, so that is a pass. So now to the leaderboard. So 6.1, the leaderboard table should display the rank, the username, and the high score on the table. So if I go back, look in the leaderboard, should have position, player, score, and it has a score of test 1, and it shows the position, and it shows the high score of test 2 and the position. If I were to get a high score of 15 on test 2 account, I should get it should update the leaderboard, and if I restart, it will update the leaderboard and show 15. So that is a pass. Show where the user is in the table. So if you open the table, it should show exactly you are here. I should highlight your name, but it doesn't do that yet, so there's a fail. The leaderboard is ordered, so it's lowered from highest to lowest score. So if I were to make another account, this is ordered from highest to lowest, but if I were to make another account called say test 3, and I try to show the leaderboard, it will show 0 because it's initially 0 and it will be lost. If I try to get score greater than 15, so if I get 20, and then okay, if I get 20, restart and then go back, should update it and I should be second place now. and this should be moved down to third. So this is a pass. Alright, now 7.1, all buttons function as they should be and takes the user where they should. So if I go back, this back button takes you back to the movement. This takes you to the leaderboard. This takes you to the game. This takes you back. If you log out, it logs you out. If you start an account, you start an account. If you register, you register. So if I put my name, it registers you, and if I log in, it takes me here. So all the buttons function as they should be and take you where you need to go. And now session. So test the server. So test when the server restarts. The session and when the server restarts, the session isn't active. Sorry. So it means that whenever I get a high score and the server isn't started, it should not save my high score. So let's say I am in this game and then I close the server. So if I press Control C, and the server stopped, it will no longer load the sprite images. And I'm on the David account. I should have started with I have a high score going on, and as the game keeps going on and I keep getting my score up, let's say I die, and it tries to save my score. It can't save my score. So yeah, if I restart, go back, it just won't go because I haven't started the server. So if I start the server now, and I go back to my URL, yeah, and I try log back in, David and David, it will show the leaderboard. I have a score of 0. So it shows that basically when the server restarts, the session isn't active, and it just won't store any value you get. So yeah, that's it for my testing. This is a pass, and yeah, thank you.